Welcome to Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story, where we answer the questions you have about your favorite classic authors. What inspired your favorite author to write their novels? What was going on in the world at the time? Follow along with us as we tell you what was happening in the world while your favorite authors wrote your favorite classics. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read, and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. If you enjoy our show, be sure to follow our show so you get all the new episodes. You can catch us on all the social medias at Bite at a Time Books, or on our website, biteatatimebooksbehindthestory.com. If you would also like to hear a story by the author we're currently featuring, check out the Bite at a Time Books podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Today we'll be talking about the controversies and mysteries of Lewis Carroll. Ordination. Dodgson had been groomed for the ordained ministry in the Church of England from a very early age, and was expected to be ordained within 4 years of obtaining his master's degree as a condition of his residency at Christ Church. He delayed the process for some time, but was eventually ordained as a deacon on 22 December 1861. But when the time came a year later to be ordained as a priest, Dodgson appealed to the dean for permission not to proceed. This was against college rules, and initially Dean Liddell told him that he would have to consult the college ruling body, which would almost certainly have resulted in his being expelled. For unknown reasons, Liddell changed his mind overnight, and permitted him to remain at the college in defiance of the rules. Dodgson never became a priest, unique among senior students of his time. There's currently no conclusive evidence about why Dodgson rejected the priesthood. Some have suggested that his stammer made him reluctant to take the step because he was afraid of having to preach. Wilson quotes letters by Dodgson describing difficulty in reading lessons and prayers rather than preaching in his own words. However, Dodgson did indeed preach in later life, even though not in priest's orders, so it seems unlikely that his impediment was a major factor affecting his choice. Wilson also points out that the Bishop of Oxford, Samuel Wilberforce, who ordained Dodgson, had strong views against clergy going to the theater, one of Dodgson's great interests. He was interested in minority forms of Christianity. He was an admirer of F.D. Maurice, and alternative religions, theosophy. Dodgson became deeply troubled by an unexplained sense of sin and guilt at this time, the early 1860s, and frequently expressed the view in his diaries that he was a vile and worthless sinner, unworthy of the priesthood. And this sense of sin and unworthiness may well have informed his decision to abandon being ordained to the priesthood. Missing diaries. At least 4 complete volumes and around 7 pages of text are missing from Dodgson's 13 diaries. The loss of the volumes remains unexplained. The pages have been removed by an unknown hand. Most scholars assume that the diary material was removed by family members in the interests of preserving the family name, but this has not been proven. Except for one page, material is missing from his diaries for the period between 1853 and 1863, when Dodgson was 21 to 31 years old. During this period, Dodgson began experiencing great mental and spiritual anguish and confessing to an overwhelming sense of his own sin. This was also the period of time when he composed his extensive love poetry, leading to speculation that the poems were autobiographical. Many theories have been put forward to explain the missing material. A popular explanation for one missing page, 27 June 1863, is that it might have been torn out to conceal a proposal of marriage on that day by Dodgson to the 11-year-old Alice Liddell. However, there has never been any evidence to suggest this, and a paper suggests evidence to the contrary, which was discovered by Caroline Leach in the Dodgson Family Archive in 1996. This paper is known as the Cut Pages and Diary document. Carroll's nephew, Philip Dodgson Jacques, reported that he wrote it well after Carroll's death, based on information from his aunts who destroyed 2 diary pages, including the one for 27 June 1863. Jacques did not see the pages himself. The summary for 27 June states that Mrs. Liddell told Dodgson there was gossip circulating about him and the Liddell family's governess, as well as about his relationship with Ina, presumably Alice's older sister, Lorena Liddell. The break with the Liddell family that occurred soon after was presumably in response to this gossip. Without evidence, Leach suggests an alternative interpretation. Lorena was also the name of Alice Liddell's mother. What is deemed most crucial and surprising is the document seems to imply that Dodgson's break with the family was not connected with Alice at all. Until a primary source is discovered, the events of 27 June 1863 will remain in doubt. However, a 1930 letter from the younger Lorena Liddell to Alice may shed light on that matter. Reporting an interview with an early Dodgson biographer, she wrote, "I said his manner became too affectionate to you as you grew older, and that mother spoke to him about it, and that offended him, so he ceased coming to visit us again, as one had to find some reason for all intercourse ceasing. Mr. D used to take you on his knee. I did not say that." Migraine and epilepsy. In his diary from 1880, Dodgson recorded experiencing his first episode of migraine with aura, describing very accurately the process of moving fortifications that are a manifestation of the aura stage of the syndrome. There is no clear evidence to show whether this was his first experience of migraine per se, or he previously had the far more common form of migraine without aura, although the latter seems most likely, given the fact that migraine most commonly develops in the teens or early adulthood. Another form of migraine aura, called Alice in Wonderland syndrome, has been named after Dodgson's book of the same name and its title or character because its manifestation can resemble the sudden size changes in the book. It is also known as micropisia and macropisia, a brain condition affecting the way that objects are perceived by the mind. For example, an affected person may look at a larger object, such as a basketball, and perceive it as having the size of a golf ball. Some authors have suggested that Dodgson experienced this type of aura and used it as an inspiration in his work, but there's no evidence that he did. Dodgson also had 2 attacks in which he lost consciousness. He was diagnosed by a Dr. Morshead, Dr. Brooks, and Dr. Stedman, and they believed the attack and the consequent attack to be an epileptiform seizure. Initially thought to be fainting, but Brooks changed his mind. Some have concluded from this that he had this condition for his entire life, but there's no evidence of this in his diaries beyond the diagnosis of the 2 attacks already mentioned. Some authors, Sadie Ranson in particular, have suggested that Carroll had temporal lobe epilepsy, in which consciousness is not always completely lost, but altered, and in which the symptoms mimic many of the same experiences as Alice in Wonderland. Carroll had at least one incident in which he suffered full loss of consciousness and awoke with a bloody nose, which he recorded in his diary and noted that the episode left him not feeling himself for quite some time afterward. This attack was diagnosed as possibly epileptiform, and Carroll himself later wrote of his seizures in the same diary. Most of the standard diagnostic tests of today were not available in the 19th century. Yvonne Hart, consultant neurologist at the John Radcliffe Hospital, Oxford, considered Dodgson's symptoms. Her conclusion, quoted in Jenny Wolfe's 2010 The Mystery of Lewis Carroll, is that Dodgson very likely had migraine and may have had epilepsy, but she emphasizes that she would have considered doubt about making a diagnosis of epilepsy without further information. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story today, while we answered some questions you have about one of your favorite classic authors. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back next time when we answer more questions about one of your favorite classic authors. If you enjoyed our show, be sure to follow us so you get all the new episodes. We would also love for you to drop us a rating on your favorite podcast platform. You can catch us on all the social medias at Bite at a Time Books, or check out our website, biteatatimebooksbehindthestory.com. Our show is part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you would also like to hear a story by the author we are currently featuring, check out the Bite at a Time Books podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, or on biteatatimebooks.com.